Two fortresses face off across 40 miles of Caribbean blue. The USS Gerald R. Ford, 110,000 tons of American naval power, cuts through swells with F/A-18 Super Hornets cycling off her deck every 90 seconds. On the opposite shore, Venezuelan S-300VM batteries track the airspace, their 9 S-32ME radars painting targets at 250 kilometers out, engagement envelopes overlapping in the international airspace between them. Neither side blinks, neither side retreats. This is the Caribbean Basin in December 2025, and the age of gunboat diplomacy just went ballistic. This capability just went live. November 21st, 2025. The FAA issues an unprecedented advisory. All U.S. aircraft are warned against Venezuelan airspace due to worsening security situation. 14 hours later, President Maduro activates Bolivarian Shield exercises, the largest air defense drill in Venezuelan history. The timing isn't coincidence, it's declaration. Behind that milestone, while the U.S. Navy stations its most advanced carrier strike group 40 miles offshore under Operation Southern Spear, Venezuela has transformed into what defense analysts now call Fortress Caracas, the Western Hemisphere's most heavily defended airspace. This isn't posturing. Between Russian S-300VM interceptors capable of engaging targets at Mach 14, Iranian Shahed-derived loitering munitions with 1,000-kilometer strike range, and Chinese JY-27 counter-stealth radars that detected approaching F-22 Raptors, the cost calculation for any U.S. incursion just became unacceptable. The question isn't whether Venezuela can win a conventional war. It's whether America is willing to pay the butcher's bill to find out. The answer is Fortress Venezuela. The cornerstone, Russia's S-300VM Anti-2500. Unlike the export-grade S-300PMU series sold to dozens of nations, Venezuela operates the tracked mobile VM variant, specifically designed to accompany maneuver forces while engaging ballistic missiles and high-speed cruise missiles simultaneously. Here's what makes it lethal. The 9 S-32ME multi-channel guidance radar tracks 24 targets while guiding 48 missiles at once. Maximum engagement altitude, 30 kilometers. Maximum target speed, Mach 14. Translation: every F/A-18 Super Hornet operating from the Gerald R. Ford is within the kill box the moment it crosses into Venezuelan radar coverage. And those S-300VM batteries? They've redeployed from interior garrisons to forward positions in Zulia, Falcón, and La Guaira, extending their 250-kilometer envelope deep into the Caribbean operational boxes where U.S. naval aviation cycles. Complementing this strategic layer, the Buk M2E forms the tactical shield. Its 9 S-36 phased array radar, mounted on a 24-meter mast, detects low-flying cruise missiles exploiting terrain masking, precisely the threat profile of U.S. Tomahawk strikes. And at the coastal layer, modernized Pechora 2M batteries protect oil refineries with optical tracking channels that maintain lock even under heavy electronic jamming. It's a three-tier shield: strategic reach, tactical precision, coastal resilience. Getting here took 15 years of oil money. Between 2009 and 2013, Venezuela spent over $4 billion acquiring Russian air defense systems during the Chavez oil boom. Delivery came in waves. S-300VM battalions in 2011, Buk M2E batteries in 2012, Pechora 2M upgrades completed by 2013. The original doctrine was defensive, protecting Caracas and military installations. But 2025 changed everything. With the U.S. carrier group deployed and Operation Southern Spear authorized, Venezuelan commanders executed emergency redeployments, moving static air defense batteries to mobile forward positions on the coast. The goal? Transform from passive shield to active anti-access/area denial zone. But there's a vulnerability. Russia's war in Ukraine decimated the spare parts pipeline. Operational readiness of Venezuela's Su-30 Mk2 fighter fleet has dropped below 50%. Maduro sent urgent letters to Putin requesting engine overhauls, radar refurbishment, and missile stocks. Russia's response? Limited airlifts of critical components via sanctioned Il-76 transports, survival rations, not modernization. The IADS is dangerous in the opening hours of conflict, but it lacks depth for sustained operations. Use it or lose it. Theory meets reality. Picture this: 0430 hours, Gulf of Venezuela. An EA-18G Growler streaks low over the waves, its ALQ-99 jamming pods flooding Venezuelan fire control radars with electromagnetic noise. The S-300VM battalion at Maracaibo goes momentarily blind. This is the moment, the suppression window where U.S. strike packages penetrate. But Venezuelan doctrine anticipated this. The Buk M2E batteries don't rely solely on radar. Optical tracking channels acquire the Growler's heat signature through the jamming, and the 9 M317 missile launches anyway. At the same instant, a swarm of 47 Zamora V-1 loitering munitions, Venezuela's domestically produced variant of the Iranian Shahed 136, lifts off from concealed jungle launchers. Cheap, GPS-guided, one-way attack drones. Their target, not the carrier itself, but the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer screening it. The calculus is brutal. Force a $2 billion warship to expend $4 million SM-2 interceptors against $20,000 drones. 47 drones, a saturated magazine, and behind the swarm, Venezuelan Su-30 Mk2s armed with Kh-31 anti-ship missiles wait for the opening. Meanwhile, 200 kilometers inland, the Chinese-supplied JY-27 wide-mat VHF radar detects what X-band fire control radars cannot: the low observable signature of an approaching F-35. Operating in the meter-wave spectrum, the JY-27 exploits a physics loophole. Stealth aircraft optimized against high-frequency radar cannot conceal their airframe from meter-long wavelengths that resonate with wings and tails. The JY-27 can't guide a missile directly, but it cues the S-300VM's precision radar to focus on that specific sector, increasing lock probability. The critical moment. The Zamora V-1 swarm closes to 12 kilometers. The destroyer's Aegis radar is saturating. CIWS engages at point-blank range. Tracers arc across the pre-dawn sky. 34 drones fall. 13 break through. 3 impact the superstructure. No catastrophic damage, but the destroyer is mission-killed, withdrawing under damage control. The Growler evades the Buk missile through chaff and hard maneuvering, but the jamming corridor collapses. Venezuelan air defenses reacquire, the strike package aborts, and 400 kilometers to the east, an F-35 pilot receives a warning. Radar lock, sector 270. Impossible. He's supposed to be invisible. He's not. He brakes hard, exits Venezuelan airspace. The penetration attempt fails. When the smoke cleared, 0 U.S. aircraft penetrated Venezuelan core airspace, 1 destroyer damaged, withdrawing to Puerto Rico for repairs. The cost to Venezuela: 47 expendable drones, several Buk missiles. The strategic message to Washington: this won't be a clean, surgical strike. This will be grinding attrition warfare. And on the global stage, Chinese defense analysts immediately noted the JY-27's performance against the F-35. Validation of their counter-stealth technology broadcast to every nation watching the Indo-Pacific chessboard. Iran publicized the Zamora V-1 swarm success, marketing its Shahed series drones to Syria, Yemen, and Hezbollah. The industrial ripple. Every A2/AD-focused nation just received a blueprint for asymmetric defense against superior conventional forces. Yet GPS jamming remains a vulnerability. U.S. Growlers can degrade the Zamora V-1's guidance, and the S-300VM's limited missile stocks mean every shot counts. Sustainability is the Achilles heel, making this possible. Not Russian engineers or Chinese technicians alone, but 4 million Venezuelan militiamen integrated into Plan 2026, Maduro's vision of total civil-military defense. In rural zones where radar coverage gaps due to terrain, these militia units become human sensors. Equipped with encrypted radios and IGLA-S manpads, they visually report low-flying helicopters attempting terrain masking. Electronic jamming can blind a radar. It cannot blind 4 million eyes. This decentralized network organizes Venezuela into 5,300 communal circuits, each with specific defense responsibilities. If the central CODI command in Caracas is destroyed, local defense pockets continue operating independently, launching ambushes, reporting intelligence. It's the doctrine of asymmetric resilience. Even if the conventional IADS degrades, the human network persists. And behind the visible hardware, Iranian advisors train Venezuelan crews on Zamora V-1 operations. Chinese technicians maintain JY-27 algorithms, feeding signature libraries collected from Russian operations in Syria and Ukraine. This is industrial-scale knowledge transfer, technology, doctrine, operational experience, flowing from Beijing and Tehran to Caracas. The production capacity. Venezuela's CAVIM facilities now manufacture Zamora V-1 airframes domestically, with Iranian-supplied GPS modules and warheads. The goal? Stockpile hundreds, potentially thousands, of expendable munitions before any conflict begins. The bigger picture. This isn't just Venezuela's fortress, it's a template. Every nation facing US conventional superiority is watching this blueprint. Layered air defense, Russian hardware, asymmetric swarms, Iranian drones, counter-stealth sensors, Chinese radar, and mobilized civil defense. From Tehran to Pyongyang, the lesson is clear. You don't need parity. You need to make intervention cost-prohibitive, but the containment ring is tightening. Colombia just signed a €3.1 billion contract for 17 Gripen E/F fighters armed with Meteor beyond visual range missiles, technically superior to Venezuela's aging Su-30 Mk2 fleet. Brazil deployed 10,000 troops to the Roraima border under Operation Atlas, including F-39 Gripens and E-99 early warning aircraft that deny Venezuelan aircraft jungle cover. And the US installed an AN/TPS 80G/ATOR radar in Trinidad and Tobago, just miles from Venezuela's coast, providing Southcom a deep look capability into the Orinoco oil belt. The fortress is surrounded. The question, how long before economic strangulation forces Caracas to lash out, using those Zamora V-1s against US bases in Puerto Rico or Aruba, triggering the full-scale war both sides claim they want to avoid. Which brings us to you. If you were advising the Pentagon, would you authorize a limited strike to degrade Venezuela's air defenses now, accepting the casualties, or maintain the blockade and let economic collapse do the work over months, risking a desperate asymmetric retaliation? Strike now or starve them out? Drop your call in the comments. This is DIB Dispatch, where billion-dollar projects meet battlefield reality.